and welcome to 70 Years, 70 Muppets, a Muppet fan podcast presented by ToughPigs.com. This is the podcast where we celebrate the Muppets' 70th anniversary with 70 straight weeks of spotlights on our favorite Muppet characters, from the most popular to the most obscure. I am this week's host, Anthony Strand, and the Muppet of the Week is Uncle Deadly, performed originally by Jerry Nelson and currently by Matt Vogel. Designed by the one and only Michael K. Frith, and built by the one and only Dave Goelz, making his world debut in 1976. I am delighted to be joined today by a puppeteer, a filmmaker, and an all-around great guy, Grant Harding. Welcome to 70 Years, 70 Muppets.
Hi, Anthony. You mean I'm not here to talk about the primitives?
No, we have, I want to say there's, 10 weeks left after this? 11 weeks? So you don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe the primitives are coming up. Maybe you'll get your wish.
Those beloved characters who were never in anything.
Beloved by you and you alone. But yeah, so we're talking about Uncle Deadly, and I thought of you, Grant, because you are, in my mind, one of our foremost enthusiasts of puppet design. Like you mentioned, the primitives. A character
Yes.
like that's a group of characters you certainly only would care about because of their designs, right?
Yes. Well, there's nothing else about them. They never did anything.
Right. And there are other things about Uncle Deadly, of course. But I want to start with the design because I think he's one of absolutely the coolest looking puppets in the whole Muppet pantheon.
I got to agree with you there.
Michael K. Frith kind of joined the troupe right around the time of the Muppet Show. And Uncle Deadly feels like a mission statement to me.
Oh, I like that.
Thank you. Because there is nothing like him before this, right? That your Jim Henson and Don Saleen designed characters are largely round with the Henson triangle and their big eyes. And Uncle Deadly has so many little bits and pieces coming off of his face and body.
Yeah, I feel like he shares some DNA with the Landa Gorch characters who predated him, but those were also Michael Frith.
Right. I guess that might be his mission statement. Yeah.
But yeah, he's this dragon-like guy.
Yes.
Uncle Deadly, sir. It's like you said, he's got, what did you say about the ornamentation on his face is so kind of Baroque. He has all these, what my wife would call doodly-doos, like little flourishes, little extra bits. But he doesn't feel over-designed.
Right, and it's kind of amazing that he doesn't feel over-designed, because really there's two distinct sets of doodly-doos, right? You have the kind of like catfish whiskers up around his nose and snout or whatever that thing is.
Wonderful ostrich feather nose hair for great sort of sympathetic movement when he moves his head.
Yeah. But then he also has the like beard-ish growths coming out of his chin, which are foam, which are the same material as the rest of his head. And it like when I'm thinking about it now, it feels like the combination of those two things should be too much.
Well, he's also got those two things that are not quite ears and not quite antennae on the top of his head.
Right, they're like the kind of ram's horn shape.
Yes. Yeah.
Like they're not quite ears, not quite antennae, not quite ram's horns. And yet, he's just a gorgeous puppet. I never get tired of looking at this guy.
Yeah, no, I agree. I always think of him now when I think of those doodly-doos on his face. I always think of when Gloria Estefan the penguin was biting one of them and just like pulling on it. He's going ow, ow, ow. Like it's wonderful. And his not to mention too, his eyes have such a unique construction because I think they're sort of cups with a hollow in them, and then the pupil kind of exists. And I don't know exactly how it's put together. I feel like I get the impression that it's like when you carve a Halloween pumpkin with a pupil. That technique you can use where you cut out a pupil and then like hold it in place with toothpicks.
Yeah, it does look very much like that.
And because it's like this thickly green surrounded by black, his eyes give the impression of glowing without actually glowing.
You're right, because the cavity of his eye, the rest of his eyes, truly are dark. They're pitch black. It looks like a cave. Two tiny caves on his face with glowing orbs in them.
He's marvelous.
It really is marvelous. There's so much going on. And we haven't even gotten into his extensive sense of style, right? His classic Muppet Show look is that he's wearing this like raggedy tuxedo with a multicolored cummerbund, you know, or I guess it's a vest, multicolored vest, and a tie. And then I mean, if you look at how Fozzie Bear is dressed, or even Gonzo, you know, who's wearing a suit also,
Barely
and
dressed, yes.
yeah, but Fozzie's barely dressed. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah, nice. But even Gonzo, who like does have a little more extensive wardrobe and is a little more complicated than a Kermit or a Fozzie, he's nothing compared to Uncle Deadly.
No, because Uncle Deadly has to be because in his introduction, which we'll get to, he's dead, right? He's a ghost, so he lived ages ago, and so his clothes are all worn out, worn away. I guess. I mean, it's there's no Muppet canon, but
Right.
it's interesting that then when they put him in sort of modern outfits, or even just complete non-ragged outfits in 2011 and 2015 and moving forward, he's not. It doesn't. It still fits the character. It doesn't take away from it to change his outfit so completely.
It's still these very fancy costumes. They're just not falling apart.
It's probably what he used to wear when he was alive.
Right. He's brought back his original tailor
Yeah.
from the 1880s or whatever. So
Yeah,
let's
who is
go
his
ahead.
tailor? I love that outfit.
I
Sorry,
don't know.
I
We
had
should
to
ask
do
him.
it.
We should. Awesome. So let's go ahead and talk about his introduction, which is the Twiggy episode of The Muppet Show from season 1. I'm not entirely. If I remember right, the Vincent Price episode aired before Twiggy, right?
Probably it might have been produced before it too. Everything's out of order in the first season. Scooter's introduction, Uncle Deadly's introduction. Probably depends where you lived too.
Right. Yes. Right. The episodes aired in different orders all over. According to Muppet Wiki, though, Vincent Price is officially 19, episode 19, and Twiggy is 121. So 2 episodes later is his big introduction. But let's start there. In the Twiggy episode, the main cast of the Muppet Show are core 4: Kermit, Fozzie, Gonzo, and Hilda, as mentioned in the Hilda episode of this podcast. They are very frightened of this legend of the Phantom of the Muppet Show, and it's actually one of the first big backstage plots, really.
I suppose it is. Yeah.
Yeah, we're getting towards the end of season 1, and they're starting to tell a story instead of just doing jokes backstage.
It doesn't quite influence what's happening on stage yet, but they're getting there.
Right, but when they find him, it turns out that the Phantom of the Muppet Theater is Uncle Deadly, as a person who did some of his greatest performances in this theater and died on stage. And so now he's become this ghoul, this fiend, Uncle Deadly.
Who doesn't want anyone to perform in the theater ever again?
Right, and that's why he's sabotaging it. Let's talk about Jerry Nelson, because this is a character who easily could have been a one-off.
Yes, and almost was.
Is that right?
As we'll discuss, he didn't do much.
No, right. He has about 3 featured things on the Muppet Show. Jerry Nelson is doing this impression of the character actor John Carradine, who's in a bunch of old horror movies, House of Dracula, things like that.
I actually didn't know who that was. I had to look up some YouTube videos, and wow, that is a damn good John Carradine impression, Jerry Nelson.
It's a very good John Carradine impression, yes.
Drop the stick from your hand. Drop it.
And I mean, a lot of Jerry Nelson, he's talked in interviews about how his voices were mostly bad impressions, right?
Right, and as Billy West famously said, that a bad celebrity impression is a brand new voice no one's ever heard before.
Right, yeah, I think that sounds like Billy West. But you're right, it's a very good John Carradine impression. If you go watch him in old Universal horror movies or whatever, you can hear it. But I love just the energy that Jerry brings to this character. He strolls into the Twiggy episode like he's the star of the Muppet Theater and always has been and always will be.
Yeah, because that's who he is, right? He's a villainous ghost, but at heart he's an actor, he's a performer.
Yeah, we're Muppet fans. There are a lot of minor characters that we love. You know, you mentioned the primitives up front. I talk a lot about how much I love Mo Frackle or whatever.
Digit.
You know. Digit, exactly. Yes. I'm somewhat obsessed with Big Tiny Tall Saddle from the Johnny Cash episode. Basically for no reason. But Uncle Deadly is one who the people making newer Muppet stuff were clearly kind of obsessed with him because they brought him back in a big way.
Yes.
And watching the Twiggy episode and the Vincent Price episode, you can tell why.
Mm.
Because Jerry is just it's a star performance from him in a role that didn't really need one.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I mean, Jerry gives he always gives it his all, I think.
Yeah.
And leave. It's just wonderful.
Right.
I can't do it, obviously. I'm not Jerry Nelson.
None of us are, my friend. But then and then the other big appearance in season 1 is the Vincent Price episode, where I think they felt rightly that they have Vincent Price, classic horror movie actor, on the show. Like John Carradine, a person who was in Universal monster movies in the 1940s. And so they felt like it would make sense for Uncle Deadly to be his sidekick in this episode.
Yes.
And he gets two big sketches. He gets the sketch where Gonzo and Fozzie are going to rent a castle, and then Vincent Price and his beautiful assistant Uncle Deadly show up.
It's a bizarre sketch, but
Sure, I love it. I mean, this is one of those I watch it every year. Every October.
Oh, that's fun.
I pull out the Vincent Price episode at some point. Yeah. My kids have seen it a bunch of times. It's one that they really love. Then at the end of the episode, or in the original airing and on Disney Plus, but not on the DVDs.
Not on DVD.
They sing "You've Got a Friend" by Carole King.
And that arrangement is barely recognizable as that song.
Yeah.
Like the words are all there, but it's
like the Toccata and Fugue version of "You've Got a Friend," right? The that famous organ,
right? Yeah,
yeah. It's like if "You've Got a Friend" was that piece of music, basically. It's all this like organ dirge stuff.
But I love that in the Twiggy episode he was saying everyone must leave the theater or be doomed, and by now he's just one of the in universe. I mean, he's one of the Muppets stable of actors. It's as if after the Twiggy episode he said to Kermit, "Well, if I can't scare you out of the theater, can I just join your ensemble instead?"
Yeah, I love the idea that happened off stage in between episodes. And the Vincent Price episode I think is the one where it feels like he's going to be a regular presence. Mm-hmm. Like, and when I say that, I mean like a Lou Zealand.
Right, yes.
A Marvin Suggs.
A featured secondary player.
Right, exactly. And that basically didn't happen. So after season 1, he makes a few other appearances on The Muppet Show, most prominently in the Muppet Melodrama sketches, which we'll discuss in a bit. But then he just kind of disappears for decades.
Yeah.
I mean, he's around. The puppet is around. He's one of the monsters who attack Michael Eisner in the intro to Muppets at Walt Disney World, for example.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if he was even in the background of the Muppet Show for the rest of its run.
Yeah, he just basically disappears until they bring him back in the 2011 movie. He has a very prominent supporting role as one of Chris Cooper's henchmen.
So it was specifically James Bobin who wanted to bring him back.
James Bobin was the director of that film, Muppets 2011. Yes. And that says something about how much of a true Muppet fan he was, that he's like, who we need in this movie? Uncle Deadly.
There's an Uncle Deadly shaped hole.
But so they cast Matt Vogel to play him. Much like Jerry, Matt Vogel seems like he is having a blast.
Yeah. He's really relishing every line.
Right. He doesn't get a ton to do in the movie, really. He has a few big scenes. He actually saves the day at the end. Tex Richmond tells him to cut the power to the Muppet Theater to end the telethon, and then it's when he stands up to him and tells him he will not do it. And so Uncle Deadly, actually the hero of the 2011 Muppet movie.
Yeah, which I think is also the first time we see his tail.
You're probably right, but he did get a Palisades action figure.
Oh, that's true.
Which has his tail in it. Like he has that big tail in the action figure.
Yeah, I wonder if the puppet always had a tail. It was like Leon.
Yeah, and we just never see it. Like Leon.
Leon, that beloved. He's next week, I think, Leon.
Oh, man, I wish that the whole Jim Henson Hour gang, we should do 36 years, 36 Jim Henson Hour characters. And that would be my idea of a fun podcast. But yeah, we do get to see his tail here, and it looks super cool. One thing I had forgotten rewatching his scenes from the 2011 movie, in the Twiggy episode, when he's telling Kermit about being how everyone needs to leave, there are a few times when Kermit interrupts him and he yells, "Enough!"
I never heard a fly. Well, maybe I ate a few as a kid, but...
Enough of your horrible little jokes!
Yes, sir.
And in the movie, when Chris Cooper is telling him to cut the power, he yells,
Deadly! What are you doing? Enough!
That's extraordinary.
yeah, which must be a deliberate callback.
I guess it's his catchphrase.
Yeah, but I certainly never noticed until like I was taking notes for this.
I didn't notice it until I read it in your notes.
But again, like, it's just the dedication to bringing Uncle Deadly back in that movie is so impressive. But then his final, we've seen him in other things. The Muppets don't do things anymore. So we haven't seen him much because we haven't seen the Muppets much. Well, I was going to say his largest role ever is in the 2015
He's
sitcom.
a main character.
Yeah, he's Miss Piggy's personal assistant and I think dresser, right? He like does her wardrobe. But he's also definitely Miss Piggy's best friend. One of the big emotional arcs of that show is Miss Piggy realizing that Uncle Deadly is her best friend.
Yeah, and I think the Piggy Deadly stuff is the best stuff in that show.
Mm-hmm. I agree. So what do you like about it?
I like that. Well, it's a discovery on the level of putting Gonzo and Rizzo together in Muppet Christmas Carol.
Sure, yeah, that's a great
Piggy
comparison.
never had a sidekick before, unless you count Fufu, which I don't.
Honestly, I would say Fufu is more of a prop.
Yeah. No, she never had kind of a buddy backing her up.
Yeah, you're right. One of the things I sent you was a YouTube video about 20 minutes long of just all of their scenes together. And watching it all at once, it really was striking to me how much he starts out as just kind of like a quip machine, just like a generic sidekick. And by the end of 16 episodes, they have like turned him into the beating heart of Up Late with Miss Piggy.
And they've kept that relationship going. Not that, as you say, the Muppets don't do things anymore, but that relationship was still with them in Muppets Now.
Right. I believe, if I remember right, the lifestyle with Miss Piggy, with Uncle Deadly and Miss Piggy and Uncle Deadly, was the only sketch that's in all 6 episodes of Muppets.
Well, that could be. I watched them through once and never again.
That's the proper amount to watch Muppets Now. But I do think that, like you say, it does keep up their relationship, and there's still a lot of fun together.
Right, because they've established this, but they've also discovered this. As writers and as performers, they've discovered how fun those characters are together.
Yeah, so I really do hope we get more chances to see them. And we should note that on the 2015 show, Uncle Deadly also got to do some fun things without Piggy. Memorably, he hosts a Family Feud type sketch with the Electric Mayhem, in which he asked the Electric Mayhem, he's like, we polled 5 people and asked them to name a popular flavor of iced cream. And then they were the 5 people polled, and they can't remember. They can't come up with an answer. And he gets increasingly frustrated.
Cute.
And that's great. It's a nice little bit.
Well, and something I like too is they when they do the Vet's Hospital sketch, they give him the announcer role. They don't have Jerry Nelson's announcer anymore, but they have Uncle Deadly introduce it because he's a Jerry Nelson originated character, and he gives it the same.
Yeah.
Well, not the same flourish, but a flourish.
Mm-hmm.
And no, it's really nice.
Yeah, it's great. There's also the episode where Piggy accidentally shows her tail on the red carpet at the Zootopia premiere, I believe. And she's wearing a dress from Uncle by Deadly. His clothing line, Uncle by Deadly. And that episode specifically is really all about he kind of did this to her and she kind of did this to him. And the two of them have to sort out their relationship after that happens. It's maybe the most a relationship between 2 Muppets has ever felt like a real friendship. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, no, I get that. In my memory, that's the best episode out of all of them. I haven't gone back and watched the series.
That's the best episode of the show.
In my mind, it's the best one.
And I haven't watched the whole thing lately. And I having said all of this, I generally don't like that show very much.
As is well known.
Well, I suppose so. Yeah, I guess listeners to this program probably know that. But I do think Deadly and Piggy are one of the best things about it. That also brings to mind something I'm wondering about. Having watched those Muppet Show clips and these more recent things, are Jerry Nelson and Matt Vogel playing the same character as Uncle Deadly, or is it like a new Deadly?
I would argue yes. So I would point to those Muppet melodramas. That was the recurring sketch that only happened twice.
Twice in the 3rd season.
There you go.
Gilda Radner and Gene Stapleton. So a couple of years after his big season 1 appearances.
And he's ideally suited for that because he's got that villainous look to him, but he's also the sort of a pompous actor who's going to go out there and give it his all.
Great hammy
Yes,
villain.
that's the word.
So we should say these are sketches where Miss Piggy is in peril. Uncle Deadly is the person who has hung her off a cliff or tied her to a railroad track. And then Wayne from Wayne and Wanda is theoretically her heroic
Both of them
savior.
follow the same pattern, which is Wayne comes in to save her, and then he and Uncle Deadly start discussing some common interest and end up going off together and forgetting all about Piggy. And
Yes.
it's very funny.
I agree. They're both very good. I was delighted to revisit.
What it sort of made me realize is that, as we've said, making him Piggy's best friend, and can we say Piggy's gay best friend?
I think we can, with the caveat that we are like, this is two cisgender hetero men having this discussion. Let's get that out there. I think that is very much the intention. He's certainly coded as like the gay best friend. Your Rupert Everett in My Best Friend's Wedding or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. The snarky gay best friend archetype.
Allegedly, there was talk of doing a storyline about Uncle Deadly where he was going to be explicitly stated to be gay, and it was going to handle it very sort of matter-of-factly, but that was shot down by someone.
This was on the
on the sitcom, the 2015 sitcom. There was going to be a.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was. I actually don't know if it was shot down or if they just didn't have time for it because they got canceled.
They got canceled so soon. Well, it's another character who was featured on this podcast many weeks ago is Howard Tubman. A character who is also coded as gay, but like it feels like that's the butt of the joke. As our friends Becca, David, and Adam discussed on that episode. But Uncle Deadly, it never feels like a joke.
No, well,
if we take him as being gay coded, it never feels like that the joke is at his expense. It never feels like, look at this, ha, this Muppet is gay. Whereas I think Howard Tubman does feel like, ha, this Muppet is gay, right?
Yes. As a straight man who may be missing some nuance, I think you're right.
Yeah, whereas Deadly, it feels like it informs who he is, I think.
But so this is where I was going with this, is that making a Piggy's gay best friend was the character find of 2015. But if you look at the Muppet melodramas, and I only realized this recently, he's always been paired with Piggy.
Yeah.
He's with Piggy there too. And he's always kind of been gay.
Right, especially the one where Wayne recognizes him as a flamenco dancer from this nightclub or whatever. That definitely feels like he and Wayne are going off on a date, right?
So on that basis, I would argue that yes, they are playing the same character. He's always been, he's always been matched with Piggy. He's always been
a flamboyant, theatrical
Exactly.
Yeah, and honestly, when I put that in my notes originally, my thought was that no, he wasn't playing the same character, but revisiting the Muppet Show sketches, he absolutely is. Like that's what I think is remarkable.
It's sort of an evolution of it.
Yeah. So basically, that's every appearance Uncle Deadly has ever made.
Yes. Oh wait, there's one more. There's one more. He was
what's that?
He did the introductions to those beloved YouTube videos, the Muppet Thought of the Week.
Oh right. Yeah, that's a strange
kind of
role
continuing
for him.
The announcer thing from the Vet's Hospital sketch, I guess. It's very much the same kind of,
Yeah.
And no.
You're right. It sure is. I think that's great. I mean, those, as you said, those Muppet Thoughts of the Week are kind of nothing, as you alluded to by calling them beloved. But it's great to see him, and I would love to see him more all the time. I think Muppets Mayhem would suggest that we can do the Piggy and Deadly show.
That would be, wow. Yeah, like skillfully done. That could be spectacular.
Yeah. I think I mean, clearly Eric Jacobson and Matt Vogel enjoy playing the two of them together.
Without question.
And I think that would be great. So any other thoughts about this before we go? Because I think that's my ending is let's make that show.
Oh, I have some stray thoughts. I don't know how the puppeteer does that kind of facial manipulation, because his face is wonderfully flexible, but his snout seems too long for your fingers to reach to the end of. So I don't know how they do it.
Interesting, yeah. Listeners, if anyone has any info, let us know.
Yeah. Love to get my hand inside that puppet. That'll never happen.
Sure, yeah. That's the dream. I love that.
Let's see. Oh, he has the exact same body shape as Statler.
Is that right?
Yeah, same pattern. Like, obviously not the head or the arms, but or the tail, but the sort of torso is
Right.
identical, same hump, same everything, identical to Statler.
It's like slightly pot-bellied, kind of. Right.
And I don't mean it looks like it. I mean literally there is a source stating that it is the same pattern.
It is the pattern. They built a new Statler body and put Uncle Deadly on it.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, that's fascinating.
And I don't know. Do you want to talk about his name?
Sure. Yeah, let's talk about his name.
Because he's
What do you
not
think?
anybody's uncle.
He's not anybody's uncle. I mean, he is. I guess he is a ghost in his first appearance, but he never kills anyone. He's not actually deadly.
Dead, maybe.
Yeah, he might be Uncle Dead.
Dead.
I've always kind of wondered. So Jim Henson is on record as being a big fan of the Captain Marvel comics, like the original 1940s Captain Marvel, which is a character who is a little boy that says a magic word, Shazam, and becomes a superhero. There's a recurring character in those comics named Uncle Marvel, who is his like adopted uncle who becomes a superhero, and his name is Uncle Dudley in his civilian guise. This is a character from 1940s Captain Marvel comics. And we know Jim Henson was a fan of those comics. So I've always kind of wondered if that name, Uncle Dudley, informed the name Uncle Deadly. Because they're very similar. They are one vowel sound off from being the same name.
Yeah, well, there's also the Broadway play, then a movie called Your Uncle Dudley.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
From 1935 with Edward Everett Horton, famous Fractured Fairy Tales narrator, Edward Everett Horton.
Yeah, I love him. One of the great character actors.
But again, like it's an obscure thing to like be doing a reference to.
Right. The comics character might be a reference to that play then. You know, because this
maybe.
is from the 40s. Looks like that character's first appearance was 1943.
But
So,
I would say that's an obscure thing to be doing a reference to, name a character in reference to. But then again, Phil Van Neuter, we recently learned, was named after Phil Van Natter, who was a lawyer for Bill Clinton or something like that? Like not.
Is that right?
So maybe that's a great way to name characters. Do a jokey riff on something nobody will recognize.
On something nobody remembers. Yeah. I'm just theorizing. I have no evidence that any of this is true, but it's possible that the superhero character is a reference to the play and Uncle Deadly is a reference to the superhero character. You know, it could be like
You never know.
one generation removed. I don't know. I own the DC 50th anniversary special, and Jim Henson is quoted in that as saying that Captain Marvel was his favorite superhero.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, they just have like celebrity testimonials talking about how much they love DC
That's
comics.
really neat. Phil Van Natter, by the way, was not a lawyer for Bill Clinton. He was the investigator on the O.J. Simpson case.
Okay. People loved those OJ jokes in the 90s, so that is not a shock. That's less surprising, I think.
I don't know why my brain lumped Bill Clinton and O.J. Simpson together. You know,
I think 90s news stories that never ended and were all Jay Leno wanted to talk about. Like, I really think that's why, probably.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, Jay Leno.
Like,
yeah.
What did Jay Leno make jokes about? The OJ trial and Monica Lewinsky, right?
Yeah.
You know? And then Fozzie Bear stole his ashtray or whatever it was. Is that what it was? His ashtray, right?
Was it an ashtray? I don't remember.
Something like that.
I should watch that show again.
Yeah, me too. Me too, probably. Now that I watched all these scenes that I enjoyed. So, on that note, we should watch the 2015 sitcom. Thank you for joining us, Grant. It's been a real pleasure.
It's been a pleasure being here. As the Firesign Theater says, being on the radio is more fun than watching TV.
Anything you want to plug before we go, where people can find you online?
Well, you can, if you want to see my puppets, you can follow me at Abstract Grant on Instagram and YouTube. Keep an eye on a website called toughpigs.com because I have an article that's going to be coming out. It probably will be out by the time this podcast goes out, about some really cool archival Fraggle Rock materials I found at the University of Toronto Rare Books Library. And I've been waiting to share this with everybody for a long time, and I can finally do it. I'm very excited.
Awesome. I cannot wait. Hopefully we can just link to that in the show notes because it's already out. But either way, keep an eye out for it, listeners. And now, here is Jared with the outro.
70 Years, 70 Muppets is a Muppet Fan podcast presented by toughpigs.com. hosted by a whole myriad of people and edited by them as well. Produced by Jared Fairclough. The Muppets 70 logo used with permission by the Muppet Studio with thanks to Danny Iglesias, Frank Reif Snyder and Lee Slaughter. Don't forget to follow toughpigs.com on all social media platforms. You can support us by heading to patreon.com/toughpigs or buying a t-shirt at tpublic.com/toughpigs.